Hey guys, welcome to another video. So, I just want to talk about how we as Africans cannot afford to be the last anymore and we cannot afford to be behind anymore. So, yeah, long story short, guys, Africans cannot afford to be the last anymore. We can't afford to we can't afford to be struggling the way that we're struggling anymore, to be honest, because I don't know why it's taking this long for us to begin to realize. I think it's because we're in the day of social media, right? And a lot of Africans are coming out truthfully about all their experiences that they have been experiencing in the various countries in which they've gone to seek acceptance. Guys, we can no longer try to seek acceptance anymore. We just can't do it anymore. We really can't. We have seen time and time again, the results of continuous acceptance seeking. It doesn't take us anywhere, guys. It really doesn't. And this is not also a ploy for me to try and promote African togetherness, because as I sit here in a foreign land and foreign country, I meet people, other Africans, on a daily basis. And although there are times when I do try to connect with them, we don't connect, and that's to no fault of our own. It's not just because we're all Africans that we're all going to connect. No, it doesn't work like that. It just doesn't. For example, I do meet a lot of men. I meet a lot of young African men, some around my age, a lot of them older than I am. I'm not gonna go out of my way to try and connect with them just on the basis of them being African. I'm not going to do that. I have my own principles, and I'm not going to be naive to think that the same way the same reason for which I'm connecting with them is the same reason they're connecting with me. The Bible says one must be equally yoked, and I'm not going to make the mistake of being unequally yoked with some random African just because I'm thinking from my perspective and only my perspective. So no, this is not a ploy to say we all need to come together as Africans and we all need to unite. No, this is me telling you guys, as an African to an African, yes, come, go wherever you'd like to go to, specifically for education, because I'm here specifically because I'm studying. I'm currently doing a bachelor's degree, and I do have plans on continuing my studies. But best believe I have, guys, the way I think about it is I have a lot to contribute to. There's a lot to be done on the African continent. There is so much to be done. There's so much to be done that we cannot afford, guys. We cannot afford to be seeking acceptance from these teeny weeny European countries. We just cannot. We cannot, guys. Talk less of even like the US or Canada. These countries which have already been established with their own specific systems to forever marginalize certain groups. And yes, there are Africans who are excelling in these countries the same way there are Africans who are riddled with terrible depressive feelings, very, very depressive feelings, and a ton of depression, a ton of mental health issues. And I think it's especially Africans who did not grow up. If you are an African and you didn't grow up in the West, it's going, no matter how old you were when you left your homeland, if you didn't grow up in the West, to be honest, it's gonna be hard for you to turn a blind eye to the microaggressions, to everything. It's going to be really, really hard. When are we going to stop seeking acceptance? Because for me personally, I cannot seek acceptance. I literally cannot. There are days when I'm literally I feel so fed up, and I can also never hate being African. I cannot hate the fact that I am African. But there are days when I ask God why He created Africans. Did He create us to just lose our history, lose our identity, and be stuck in a cycle of self acceptance and eternal suffering. It makes you, it shocks you, right? It will shock you when you realize that what, for example, what the average Black American has experienced on a daily basis is something that most people who are not Black American, Africans included, will never experience in their lifetime. And a lot of those things are negative, unfortunately, at the hands of the people around whom they live. And I feel so ashamed to even say that as an African myself, I used to look down on Black Americans because I felt like they were being ungrateful and they weren't putting to use all the opportunities being given to them. You know, they were way too focused on having victim mindsets and victim complexes, and to some extent, it's still, that truth still stands. But to ignore the pain and the wickedness that Black Americans have experienced from the dawn of that country which they also built. I always, it's only God who can answer the question of why. Sorry guys, it's kind of emotional when I'm thinking about it, because and the reason why, you know, I can't say I even understand anything. The only reason why it's beginning to make a little bit of sense to me is because I am an international student, literally, living in a European country, and I cannot, you know, I cannot connect or attribute. I don't know if that's the right term to use, but I can't blame all my experiences on something that has to do with my race. I can't do that. That would be it. That would be me being ingenuous, right? I don't know if that's even a word, but that'd be me being dishonest. But it's just the feeling of being wronged. I'm not even knowing whether you being wronged is out of pure discrimination or just out of pure human spite and human behavior. And that's the reason. Because I always used to ask myself, why are Black Americans always so angry? You know, why are they so angry? I can never ask that question again, because I know why. I know a fraction of why. And I would never even wish to know the full reason why. Black Americans, Africans, we owe you a huge apology. We owe you guys a huge apology, and I am just one African, but I apologize, Black Americans. I apologize because I was 16 when I held those beliefs, and right now I'm in my early 20s. I apologize, Black Americans, for... I'm not going to talk about it too much because it really makes me so emotional just to think about the things that Black Americans have gone through and continue to go through, and to think that these individuals who are hurting, who are still hurting and in pain, are still going through that and are even being gaslighted by Hispanics, by South African immigrants, and by Caribbeans, and worst of all, by Africans. Oh God. We are sorry. We are sorry. You guys have been through it. You have been through it. Nah. We have been through it. But again, I ask the question, God, why? Why? I'm not one to think that Africans and people of African origin are eternal victims. No, we have a huge part to play in our suffering. And one of my theories is that we are actually reaping what our ancestors sowed. If our ancestors were so wicked enough to sell people across the Atlantic for salt, for kola nuts, for whatever reason, and not just even across the Atlantic, but to the Arabs amongst themselves. We Africans have done wrong. We've really done wrong. We've done terrible, we've done horrible as a collective, as a group. And that's why we're suffering today, because of the iniquities of our ancestors. Are we going to keep suffering? Are we going to keep seeking for acceptance? Guys, when do we finally decide that we are done suffering? Let's even stop, as Africans, guys. Let's even stop supporting non-African and non-Black American businesses. Let's boycott all businesses that are non-African or non-Black American. And that even goes for all businesses on all fronts. It's very difficult, but I'm not saying you need to start buying groceries. You need to start growing your own groceries. No. Or maybe if a particular skincare or particular pharmaceutical products work for you, that you need to replace them. No. But when it comes to supporting businesses, no, for real, let's support Black American owned businesses, African owned businesses. Not all, of course, the ones with great customer service and great products. But let's focus our intention and our energy and our finances on our community as Africans and those of African origins, Caribbean people. We cannot afford to keep living in a world where we are continuously still being oppressed. We cannot. Do you guys like my hair?